soft, turn the key and cooler on. Push a pause for relief. Free pass, you don't even have to ask to be the cat in the sun. Someday I will see the whole deal through. Today I've got better things to do. Okay, to leave a little bit undone and be the cat in the sun. Be the cat in the sun. Set aside every empty spreadsheet line and loosen up on the grind. Simmer down, settle back and mess around. Be the cat in the sun. Someday I will see the whole deal through. Today I've got better things to do. Okay, to leave a little bit undone. Be the cat in the sun. Be the cat in the sun. Stretch out back, be the cat.
Hi friends, my name is Angela and welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're in Albany at the moment, and Albany is, I think it's just over 400 kilometres south of Perth. It's about a 5-6 hour drive depending on which way you go. Anyway, today is Sunday. We have been down here since Friday night, and we are down here for a wedding today of my very, very dear friend who, by the time she watches this video, she will be married, and I'm so happy for her. And so we've come down for the wedding on Sunday, and so we decided to make a weekend of it. And we came down Friday night, we had all day Saturday to just tour around, and then we go back home on Monday. And we're staying in this beautiful Airbnb just outside Albany. It's about 20 minutes outside of Albany on a private farm. And they've just got this gorgeous little Airbnb set up right at the front of their property. It's overlooking the Calgon River, which is just beautiful, surrounded by birdsong. Alpacas are wandering around and sheep, which I wasn't expecting. They're just coming along and grazing through this little farm. So we arrived down here late on Friday night, and then on Saturday we decided we were just going to drive around Albany and the nearby towns. And what we did was we ended up having breakfast in Albany, which was great. If there's one thing I'd like you to know about Australians is that we do a very good cooked breakfast, which is usually savoury. You of course can always get pancakes and whatever, but generally savoury is what most Australians go for. It's probably a variation of a cooked English breakfast, I guess. But bacon and eggs, and sausages, baked beans, hash browns, that kind of thing. My go-to is normally poached eggs, some sort of hollandaise thing, but I decided to go for a full cooked breakfast. It was actually half a full cooked breakfast, and it was enormous. And my husband is quite typical, will always go for some sort of bacon and eggs situation. So we did that, had a great coffee, and then we drove off about an hour west of Albany towards Denmark, and we were aiming for this honey farm. And we'd heard good things about it, and I thought, well, I love honey, and I love being able to buy it from local suppliers. So we went there and we had a look around, which was really lovely. The varieties they had were kind of cool. And we ended up buying, I got a creamed honey, which we had for breakfast this morning, which was delicious. And we also bought some mead, which I don't think I've had mead before. So we'll probably enjoy that this winter. And then after that, we headed over to Elephant Rocks, which is a pretty famous land formation. It's these gorgeous, smooth rocks. I'm not sure of the technical term for them, the scientific term, but they are throughout Albany, this area. And so you see these little humps of rock throughout the coastal landscape, and it's just beautiful. The formations, the water is just a beautiful turquoise, the sand is white, and it's a gorgeous location down here. So it was nice to see that and just tour around. And we had such beautiful weather yesterday for it's almost a bit late autumnish down here. The weather has been really nice. And this morning is Mother's Day. So my stepkids are grown and out of the house and doing their own thing. This morning, my husband and I had breakfast. I just made some soft-boiled eggs with some toast, and I had some of that honey that I bought yesterday. And it was just perfect, sitting there listening to the birds this morning, watching the sheep come past, some alpacas come past. It was kind of cool. I enjoyed this slow morning. It was really perfect. But so we're off to this wedding this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to celebrating with my friend. But in the meantime, I was going to do a little bit of reading this morning, just had a cup of tea and just sit down and do some reading. And I've been plowing through some reading this weekend because we've had a lot of driving, and I don't mind reading while being in a car. I know some people have issues with that, but so I've been doing some reading. So I thought I'd share the books with you that I have been going through. The first book that I finally picked up was The Trackers by Charles Fraser. And I have had this on my TBR for a while. It was on my autumn books I wanted to read. It was on my 6 books soon I wanted to read. And finally I am reading it. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm only a little of the way through because another book I've been reading has just been taking over my life. But this story is set in Depression era America, and in particular in Wyoming at the start of this book. And it's about an artist named Val who has been commissioned to create a mural in this small town. It's on a post office wall. And he's been commissioned by probably one of the wealthiest people in town who has some political aspirations. And so far, he's just been having some interesting conversations with people in the town. People are telling him a lot of things they probably shouldn't. He's mentioned, they're really being quite open with me and they've only just met me. But so far it's really great. The storytelling is really lovely. It's kind of putting you in the place, and I'm enjoying reading that. And I think this will be the main book I'm reading on the way home because I think I'll be finishing these other ones shortly. So The Trackers is really great, and it has a bit of a suspense element to it, I think, a bit later on, where he is, I guess, commissioned further to track down someone on behalf of his patron. So it's going really well so far. I'm enjoying it. Another one I brought down with me was In the Garden, Essays on Nature and Growing. And I've been going through this slowly, just reading a little essay here or there, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through, I think. It starts off with essays around memories, The Garden Remembered, and that was the essays that came from Nigel Slater and Jamaica Kincaid were 2 of the 3 essayists. And that was really interesting because I do believe that gardens and gardening, it does create some strong memories. You know, when you think about plants that you want to plant are probably because you remember them in your mother's garden or your grandfather's garden or whatever it might have been. And so I found that a really interesting connection. And at the moment we're into the collective garden, which is the essay I was reading recently was about creating like a communal garden in an area, which has just kind of snowballed into something so much bigger than what they planned initially. And then the next two areas are around the language of the garden and the sustainable garden. And the sustainable garden has an essay from Elizabeth Jane Burnett, which is a writer that I've been wanting to read for a while. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. I really do recommend it. These essays are so nostalgic and beautiful, and I'm really, really enjoying this one. And I think that's why I'm carting it around with me so much, because I just don't want it to finish. But yes, I'll be finishing that one this weekend, no doubt. And this is a new book that I picked up that I haven't yet shared with you because I only just bought it recently, and that is Graft by Maggie McKellar. Now, this is a memoir, and I picked it up because I thought, well, it's set in country Tasmania, and if you're going to choose somewhere that might be a bit Tasmania-ish, it might be Albany. So I thought this would be a good one for this. And I haven't read any of Maggie McKellar's work before, but her writing is just incredible. I am so enamored by it. She's written this memoir which is taking you through a full year on their farm in Tasmania, on the east coast of Tasmania. And they farm sheep for meat, for wool. It's a merino farm, and her husband are there doing very, very hard work. And it has these subtopics of motherhood, her relationship with her mother, her relationship with her children, but it is so honest. It is so self-aware, the way that she is able to almost analyze her life and the things she's going through, but in such poetic prose. I think this is going to be up there in my top books this year because I am so in love with it. I've got a little bit to go, and something really interesting with this book is I would consider this to be a book on nature writing, and considering how much I'm enjoying my nature writing at the moment. So after my last video when I did the nature tag, I think I mentioned, I read a lot of English nature books, and I wanted to read more Australian ones, but I just didn't know where to go. And this was not part of that research. I just happened to come across this in a bookstore and it looked interesting. So this book has been very timely, very providential to read at this moment in my life. And not just because I'm reading it where I am, I'm reading it in an area where there are sheep wandering past our Airbnb, where there are sheep throughout the fields everywhere, where we're going through a seasonal transition. It's Mother's Day. There are so many things that are making this book a book of the moment for me. It's really interesting how a book meets you where you are at times. This is most definitely the nature book that I didn't know I wanted to read. I'm so enjoying it. I mean, it says it's on motherhood, family, and a year on the land, but it's so much more. The prose is so poetic and beautiful. So it starts off in autumn, and it takes you through a full season, a full year of farming on their land in Tasmania. The connection that Maggie has to the land is so authentic. It's really lovely. And something that I really love through this book is that intermittently there's little bits about the birds that she is diarising information about. So she keeps a bird journal. So every so often there'll be a bird, and then there'll be a short story, a short paragraph about her interaction with that bird in some way. Another one with the grey butcher bird. And it's just all these beautiful little birds through here. Wedge-tailed eagle. It's really spectacular. And then throughout, there's also like a little bit of a vocabulary lesson where she'll tell you about what a word means, and then also in the context of whether it be farming or Australia. So if you are not Australian and I mean, we have our own slang language, of course, but if you're not Australian and you do enjoy nature writing and you enjoy memoirs, and a good memoir at that, this is really quite cool because it will give you the definitions of these words that she's giving. So it's going seasonally. It goes from autumn through until summer, and I'm currently in summer at the moment. And I am going to be sad for this one to finish. It is just beautiful, and it is the most perfect read for this time right now for me. So I am highly recommending this. I'm looking forward to sharing a bit more with you in my end of the month roundup. But Maggie McKellar, she's written a number of books, and I think they are all kind of based around this farming lifestyle. And the title graft is actually one of those definitions she was giving, where grafting is, if you're a gardener, you know that you graft one plant onto another. It's the connecting, the joining of things. But also she is grafting lambs to mothers, because quite often you might have a lamb born and then the lamb dies or the mother dies, and she's having to connect a mother with a dead lamb. So a mother that has had a lamb that has died with another lamb whose mother has died, and she is trying to create those connections, and she is persevering and pushing on, and it's so that's where the grafting is kind of coming from. But it is so thoughtful with the observations she makes. It is a real it's a page turner for me. I am really enjoying it, but I'm savoring every single word. It's lovely. So I'm so glad I'm reading that right now. So now we are just going to hang out for a little bit. I'm going to do some reading and maybe have a little bit more toast with some honey on it. And we're going to get ready for a wedding this afternoon, and I'm really excited to share that with my friends. So thank you so much for joining me on this little journey. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I'm sitting here recording it now on a Sunday. I'm probably not going to look at editing it for a couple of days, but we'll see. Hopefully it's a bit of fun, something different anyway. So thank you again so much for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely weekend ahead and lots of wonderful reading ahead of you as well. See ya.